So, Jim, it's amazing that we haven't met. We're Canadians.
It's incredible that we haven't met.
You know,
on a moose hunt somewhere.
Yes.
Didn't I almost shoot you by mistake?
You know, I'm from Winnipeg.
Yeah.
So,
Rub that in my face, why don't you?
where are you from?
Toronto.
Oh, Toronto.
Toronto. Yeah.
So,
we can actually cross the street without blowing away. Toronto.
Winnipeg, right? It's flat as could be, and every American I know says, "Oh, the skiing must be so great."
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is fantastic skiing, cross country.
So, how did any of this start?
Well, I started doing my stand-up. My father actually told me, who was a huge supporter of mine, I wanted to be like my dad. My dad was the guy that galvanized the room. He was like a cartoon talking. I mean, it just like, he was mesmerizing.
Funny.
Funny. And so when I was a little kid, I looked at him and I went, oh, that's how you get over. Okay, that's what I want to be. That's a good way to be. Plus, he made my mom feel better. I don't know about you, but I have a theory about comics that they all come from sick mothers.
From sick mothers physically?
Mothers, mentally, emotionally, you know, people who need, you know, some kind of bolstering or help.
It's amazing that you would say that, but that's exactly my situation.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So my mom was, you know, depressed a lot. She was a child of alcoholics. So, you know, oftentimes what it was for her was, you know, I need love from my kids. I need you to kind of fill that gap for me. Mm-hmm. And she manifested a lot of diseases after a lot of things going on. So I kind of lived in that, and I had a burning desire to make her feel good.
But you could entertain her, right? I mean,
absolutely. No, I'd come in my underwear and do my praying mantis impression. I'd be like, you know,
great praying mantis.
You know, crawling up on the bed.
That's an amazing praying mantis.
Thank you very much. You must have a good praying mantis to make it in comedy.
Keenen, did you start out as an actor?
I started as a stand-up comic, and I think that stand-up comedy is the best foundation for any form of comedy in this business. And the reason is that it's you and an audience, and usually you and a hostile audience.
Yes.
So if you can win over people who don't want you to make them laugh, then you know, you really develop a skill set in terms of determining what's funny and what's not.
Yeah, because it's very simple stand-up comedy. When they don't like what you're saying, it's not that they don't like the music, it's not that they don't like the set, you. We don't like you right now, and we're not going to reward you with laughing at all.
Yeah, comedy is, like I said, it's brutal. I mean, I remember doing stand-up in an Irish pub.
Oh, God. That's got to be tough.
That was brutal.
That was brutal, right? Yeah, you know, all the good shows sort of blend into one. Mm-hmm. But those bad shows,
ones, yes.
Sometimes at 3 o'clock at night, I'll remember a group of people in New Orleans where the bar was open in the middle of my act and they just disappear. You know, they come back at you. Like,
well, I remember my first job performing at a racquetball convention.
Oh, God.
And it was me by the
court?
juice bar. No, by the juice bar with a microphone and racquetball courts all around me. And as people came to the juice bar, I was trying to tell my act, and right on the punchline, the blender would,
right, yes,
or the PA, you know, court 3 is open. I was just like, oh, God.
Oh, that is tough. Well, venues can always kill you.
Yeah.
I mean, audiences sometimes, but venues.
Where you do it. Yeah. I would tell people all the time, and it's something I learned that has stayed with me even like in directing now. Distraction is the death of comedy.
Correct.
You could have the audience right there, and anybody who's been in performed at the Improv in these places, you got them. Your setup is going great, and just when you get to the punchline, a waitress puts a glass down and kink,
right,
and it dies.
Yes.
Because everyone's ear went to the glass. And it's very important that in comedy there are no distractions.
Right.
You just set it, let the guy be funny.
Correct.
And don't break the rhythm.
Yeah, it's all about what you hear more than anything else.
Yeah, so true.
So where were the first places you started out? I mean,
the main club for me was the Improvisation in New York. That's really where I got my start. It was the fact that I had heard about Richard Pryor starting at this club that made me want to go there in the first place.
Right.
But what was great about the experience was it was so diverse in terms of like, it challenged me because I was a African-American kid from the projects, and now I'm standing in front of a group of white people from New Jersey, and it's like, what are we gonna have in common? And I remember doing my act one night, and Chris Albrecht, I don't know if you know Chris.
Yeah.
At the time, he was a manager of
Right.
the improv.
Yes. Right.
And he came over to me and he said, the more specific you are, the funnier you'll be. And what I learned from that was, if I say all mothers, people's reaction is then to think, well, does my mother do that? Where if I talk about my mother, then people's reaction is, yeah, my mother does that too.
Right.
Or they just laugh at my mother. And so I learned that just being me was all I had to do, and that my human experience would translate beyond my color. And that was, like I said, that's why for me, stand-up and having to work for different audiences and all that really influenced me. I'm from a very strict home back in New York. My father was a very strict man. Give you an example, there was a guy in my neighborhood named Calvin Bailey, local bully, would beat me up every day, take my nickel, send me home crying. And I used to really upset my father. I remember one day he grabbed me, he said, Keenen, now you either go into school and fight Calvin, or you're gonna fight me. I beat the hell out of my father. This man must be crazy trying to get me killed over a nickel.
So when did you start to get in front of an audience?
First time in front of an audience was my father told me about the comedy clubs. He had read about these places called comedy clubs. And this was the early 70s, or not, mid 70s. And he took me down to Yuck Yucks in downtown Toronto. And I got up and I did an act that my father and I put together. And my mother dressed me in a polyester suit. I was 15 years old.
Wow.
And I went downtown, and by halfway through the act, Mark Breslin was backstage on a microphone with the theme song, or one of the themes to Jesus Christ Superstar playing, going, crucify him, crucify him, crucify him, and him going, totally boring.
Yes.
And then, so I did not have a good time that night, and I didn't go back for 2 years.
Well, so wait a second. Your dad helped you with, he had a concept for the act, right?
Well, we sat down together and said,
right.
Let's put some of the things that you've been doing in the living room together and try to make an act out of it.
And your mother...
And one of them was imitating Tim Conway as the old man and everything like that. Oh my
that
gosh.
slow old man.
Where is he getting lightning? Whatever.
So you could imitate, your ear was good for imitating right from the start.
That was my focus. That was really the trick that I did that everybody loved, and I was going to be the man of 1,000 faces. And I got to about 150. And I really was about the faces. I mean,
Yes.
I used to do like James Dean, and and I would turn my face and my whole being into, from the inside out and the outside in, and really kind of act these parts.
I think I've probably spent my entire life staring in the mirror. I have. But I haven't been staring at me. I've been staring at Leonid Brezhnev. Jack Nicholson. Clint Eastwood. Charles Bronson.
And so, how did Living Color come about?
I would say lightning in a bottle. I had done a movie called I'ma Get You Sucker. It's a small parody of black exploitation movies.
Right.
And I had a screening for all the studios. And I was hoping to get more film work out of it, And Fox was very excited and asked me to come take a meeting. And when I got there, I found out it was the television department, not the movie department. And at first I was a little disappointed because I wasn't thinking about doing TV. And they kind of explained to me that they were an upstart network and that, you know, basically I would be able to do any kind of show I wanted to do. And I mean, I grew up watching Saturday Night Live, and it was something I always wished to do, you know? And I was like, I have to take advantage of this.
Incredible. And what was the concept? I mean, I know what the show was, but what?
Well, the concept really was to bring a different voice to sketch comedy. We were at a time culturally, and there was a lot bubbling underground in terms of pop culture that hadn't come to the mainstream. You know, there was a whole hip-hop generation that I was a part of, and we had different takes on things. And then at the time, there were also a lot of black celebrities that no one had ever done impressions of. And
right.
So, and there were a bunch of guys in the clubs that I knew, like Jim Carrey and my brother Damon and
Sure.
David Alan Grier, who the industry didn't know what to do with. And so I took this kind of crew of people that I knew who had talent, and that attitude and that part of pop culture, and just mixed it all up.
Well, Robin, last time you were here, you picked a man to go out with. Now you're back to tell us how it went. Let's say hello to Mike Tyson.
Hi, Robin. How you doing, Chuck?
Hi there, Mike. How are you?
Well, I gotta say, I'm really ecstatic to be here.
What about you, Mike? What did you think of Robin?
Oh, well, Chuck, when I first saw Robin, I was ecstatic. I mean, she had this really tight dress on, you know, the kind with the push-up bra, and her breasts were like popping right out, like hit me right in the eye, you know?
Robin, we're almost out of time. Tell us about the rest of the day.
Well, Charles.
Keenen doing a hilarious Mike Tyson.
Right, yeah.
And your Chuck Woolery, were you ever a dancer? Like, your body is so limber.
I'm a desperate man. And so I literally will use anything and everything in my power.
Right.
And if this can be used, I always said, if God forbid, something should happen to me, that I have a spinal injury and nothing works except my baby finger, I will do the freakiest thing with my baby finger that anyone has ever seen.
Yes.
I will find a niche for baby finger comedy.
How did you find Jim Carrey? Because Jim Carrey had to be a madman at the time.
Well, it's interesting. Jim Carrey has had 4 different careers. Like, when I first met Jim Carrey, he was an impressionist, and he was doing very good, and he hated it.
Yeah, of course.
He hated it, and he just decided one day, that's not how I want to become famous. And he stopped, and he went into the clubs, and he started doing stand-up again. And people thought he was crazy.
It was a hugely popular act, and I let it go because I went, well, I'm going to die in Vegas, you know, and
So you were working in Vegas at the time.
I did a couple of gigs in Vegas,
Right.
and I just was not happy with the idea that was going to be my resting place. You know, I wanted a wider kind of appeal to whatever I was doing, and I just believed that there was something deeper going on.
And he and my brother Damon were friends. Mm-hmm. And when I was putting the show together, and I was looking for, I wanted this show to be integrated. And he said, you know, you got to come see Jim. And I went and I saw Jim, and you know, again, I looked at him and I was like, how could this guy still be in the clubs? You know,
not on television.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You know, and then he came in, and the audition process was a lot of improvisation, and he was so funny.
Yes.
I mean, he's just hilarious. He's really funny, and his auditions were always great, and he always would go someplace really physical and really funny, and it was a no-brainer.
Keenen hired me basically because I was so disrespectful when I went in there. I told him I loved him, and then fake assassinated him. And
in the room in front of everybody.
Yeah, I mean, basically the first time I met him. I was definitely committed beyond belief. I had never created characters before that show. Mm-hmm. It was all new to me, and those guys were on their feet, you know, and Damon was on his feet. You know, he didn't do the same take twice. You know, when we had to redo a sketch for the audience, stuff changed, and, you know, the audience came to expect it. So you know, it was really just like Second City training. I mean,
It was like that.
It was
yeah.
like that.
And innovative like that too, because SNL had been around, and this took it to a whole other level, actually, in comedy that you've never seen before. How did the sketches on Saturday Night Live influence you, or not influence you?
Well, Saturday Night Live as a show was a huge influence for me. The difference was that Saturday Night Live was much more politically oriented than In Living Color was. I was not a political guy, and I always said, and I knew this, that I couldn't be too political because my politics would come across angry. And I remember having issue with a couple of writers because I always said it has to be funny first. So if it's not funny and just poignant or political, we can't do that. And we did this sketch where we actually made fun of The Tonight Show. Jim played Alan Thicke.
Oh, right.
As the host.
Yes.
And we took the sketch, where, the bit they did with the wild animals.
Right, right.
And Kelly played the zoologist who was bringing the endangered species.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Joan Embry. He's beautiful.
Yes, he is. This is Calvin. He's a homeboy sapien africanus, or B-boy, as they're known in the neighborhood.
Is he able to walk?
Oh, yes, he walks, but you see, these are new sneakers, and they don't like to crease them.
Is he dangerous?
Well, Alan, like any of God's creations, without love, a proper diet, a decent education, and equal opportunities, he could be extremely dangerous.
All these lights and cameras don't help either. He's got a gun!
But that's political.
Yeah, it was.
Right.
But I made sure that the comedic rhythm worked above the message. And that was my fight with the writer. So it was, for me, like I said, it was always the funny has to be first. The message will come, but the funny has to be first.
Couldn't agree with you more. And the show was culturally interesting because it was all African-American, right, except for you.
Yeah, for the first 3 years, I was the white guy.
You were the
You know,
white
I was
guy,
the white
right.
guy. I was like the white guy. It's the white guy. It was like a complete reverse weird thing that went on, and I got to taste the other side of whatever it was. It's just like, I'm the white guy.
You're the
Okay,
minority.
I'm the white guy when I leave my house in the morning.
Yeah.
But it was fantastic because they had a complete belief in me and a complete, faith in me, and gave me room and an opportunity that, that I really think is one of the, if not the greatest, definitely the top,
Right.
greatest opportunities of my life to be seen in a way that would be beneficial to me.
It just catapulted you out
It
there,
really
for sure.
encouraged me, and it was amazing.
Right.
It was a wonderful opportunity, and I feel graced by it for sure.
And then Ace Ventura, which was another huge step up. No one saw you coming in the movies for some reason.
Well, it was hilarious because David Allen Greer used to make fun of me when I was I was in Living Color offices. Once we'd finish our writing for the show, me and Steve Odekirk would stay late and rewrite Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. And of course, I didn't even believe in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective when I took it. I was like, well, I'll tell you what, I'll write it, I'll rewrite it, and if I don't like it, as long as I have a trap door and I can get out. And of course, him and I were in the office until 4 a.m. every night and howling with laughter and getting completely pregnant with this thing, and there was no way I wasn't going to do it afterwards. But David Allen Greer was always making fun of me in front of the audience. He would be like, "Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Jim Carrey is during hiatus is going to be doing a movie called Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, and we're expecting real big things from that," and kind of thing, whatever it was. And everybody would howl with laughter at me, and I just sit there kind of red-faced and going, "All right, whatever." And then the movie came out, and the next thing you know, the very, very next time we went up in front of the audience, David was like, "Hey, everybody, let's hear it for Jim Carrey, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective." That's really nice to see. Congratulations, Jim. Like that, just kind of did that David dejected face that he does so well.
Right.
And yeah, it was a shock to everybody. But I had the amazing thing too was I got such great response from other comics that I love.
Sure.
You know, I mean, Seinfeld called me.
Of course.
Immediately following the movie and said he never laughed so hard in his life.
Yes.
And Steve Martin called me and said he had been kind of shy and kind of hanging out in his house a lot, and his friends told him to come out and watch Ace Ventura, and he was like, I don't want to watch Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. And then he decided to go out finally, begrudgingly, and he said, and it made him believe in the world again. And
Well, Steve also has a looseness and a silliness and a craziness.
he's an amazing human being.
Yeah, he's
really,
right.
really deep,
Yes.
complex human being.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We wrote-
and we are,
Yeah.
people are. It's just that, generally in society, if people get to love you for a certain thing, they want you to kind of stay in that box and whatever. But I'm going to avoid that if possible.
So you mentioned Richie Pryor. So you had to be a kid when Richie was.
Yeah. When I was about 8 years old, I saw on the Dinah Shore show, and he was doing a routine about getting bullied at school and how the bully would beat you up before you even got out of class. And he had the guy going,
Right. Yeah, right.
and then him across the room crying, And I had just experienced that. And I was sitting in front of the TV laughing, and the idea that I could laugh at this, I was like, who is this guy that can do that? And then every time he'd be on TV, I would sit in front of the TV, and my mother even took notice to the point where if he was on a late night show, she'd wake me up. And she'd tell me, Keenen, the little skinny boy is on. She didn't know his name. She called him the little skinny boy. She said, little skinny boy's on. And she let me come and watch him do his thing.
So great.
And so through that, I knew what I was going to do. I didn't know how, but I knew I was going to be a comedian.
And now your whole family's into comedy.
Well, my younger brothers will tell you that I used to put them through comedy camp when they were little boys because they said they wanted to do what I was doing.
Right.
And I would sit them in front of the TV and I would give them different movies to watch. I give them Mel Brooks movies and they'd have to watch that. And then when they were done, I'd question them and they'd have to tell me why certain things were funny. Not just that they were funny, but why they were funny. And so I made them watch Airplane. I'd make them watch Young Frankenstein. Monty Python was the one that they were really a little confused about because it was a little too heady for them, a little too British.
Right.
The one that they liked was the Holy Grail.
Yes. Oh, the movie. Right.
Yeah, the Holy Grail.
Sure.
Which is, and of course, their favorite scene was the swordsman who gets everying cut off and is still talking shit.
Of course, yeah.
But that's when they really kind of connected with Monty Python. But I shared with them my influences because I wanted them to have the same kind of diverse perspective on comedy that I was fortunate to have. And it definitely paid off.
See, I always say comedians are like jazz musicians.
Yes.
We all speak the same language.
Yeah.
All those influences, there's no comedian that we'll talk to that wouldn't agree with you on so many of them.
Yeah, and George Carlin.
And Carlin, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. Keenen, thanks so much. This is just great to talk to you.
Pleasure.
Really. Great.
Thank you.
And so what are you looking forward to for yourself now?
I'm about to do the most important, most interesting, I think, complex work of my career.
Which is?
I don't know yet.
Okay. I accept that. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks.
I appreciate it so much.
I'm so glad to be here with you.
Okay,
Really,
great,
honestly,
great, Jim.
such an honor.
Thank you.